Well, hello dear friends, it's lovely to be with you again today. I have always found myself caught short at Christmas time with people that I think, oh, I should have got them a little something as a thank you for what they've done for me during the course of the year, or just an unexpected guest that's popped into the house. So I quite often like to have a few little gift boxes and a few chocolates and or little sweeties stashed away so that I have something that I can give somebody unexpectedly. So today I'd like to show you how to make a very nice little gift box just using a simple toilet roll, some napkins, which I've got here. I've got some nice Christmas ones. I'm going to paint my toilet rolls with a mixture of gouache, which is opaque watercolor, and white, and I've got an iridescent gold. I do love these Pevio paints because they just apply so nicely, and that gold I think will be a nice, just a shimmer in the white to that. And then I also have some Galleria matte medium that I'm going to be using, as well as a paintbrush and a palette. You don't necessarily have to have a palette, you could just have an old plate or a piece of paper like this baking parchment to mix things on. So the first thing that I'm going to just talk to you about, in case you don't know it, is that the napkins that we're going to be working with today normally have several different layers. This is called ply. So some of the napkins might have 2-ply, like this one has only got 2-ply, I think. No, 3-ply, where you can separate all the layers so that you've just got the top layer with a design. And when you have this top layer on its own, it can be quite transparent. So if I show you this by putting the napkin underneath, on this one it's not so bad, but you can certainly see here at the end that the color of the actual toilet roll, that brown, is showing through. So in order to give more vibrancy to the actual design that I've got for my napkin, I'm going to be painting these white. So let me clear the decks and we'll start that straight away. So to begin with, I'm just going to put some baking parchment down here so that I don't actually get paint all over my work surface. Let me turn this over so it doesn't curl. And then I'm going to decant some of this white, which is going to be my most dominant color. And then I'm going to just put a little bit of the metallic iridescent gold in. And I'm not going to worry too much about mixing this very well. I don't mind if it is a little bit streaky, but I just want to subdue it from being this very, very deep gold to something a little bit softer so that I can see it. So if you have a look there, I don't know how well you can see that on camera, you've got quite a nice sort of creamy gold color to the actual paint, almost like a vintage white, for want of a better description. I am going to paint a little bit of the inside of the toilet roll, because you'll see as we start to construct this box that sometimes the inside shows through, and I don't want it oh, excuse me, I don't want it to look too sort of unprofessional, for want of a better description. I want it to actually look nice and neat. So just give this a quick coat of paint. The paint covers really nicely, and one coat of paint should be sufficient unless you've really done a splotchy job. Right, so just making sure that this is evenly coated inside. I haven't got any blobs that will take ages to dry. And then I'm going to repeat the same on the other side. It is a good idea to actually do the insides first, because remember, you are holding this cardboard tube with your hands, and it will get very messy if you do the outside first. How far along are you with your planning for Christmas? I'm at the almost end of November here, and time just seems to be flying by. We've had first lot of snow the other day, which was quite amazing. The actual snowdrops were about as big as that sort of area in my hand, and didn't last for very long because the ground was damp and they melt quite quickly. But it certainly, the temperature plummeted, and being myself working outside, as many of you know, I work on a farm, that it actually was pretty nippy and very wet, and the ice just wasn't melting. So we cover quite a lot of our raised beds with a cold frame, which is like a frame with plastic in it, just to keep some of the crops warm while they are still growing, because there's plenty of stuff that you can grow in winter, and we are growing a lot of things: cauliflower and cabbages and broccoli, leeks, we've got winter peas, What else have we got? Onions and garlic, they do really well if you pop them in now. We've got a few radishes growing. We feed those to some of the animals on the farm, especially the little ones like the guinea pigs. That's a sight to behold, is a guinea pig eating a radish. Really funny. And we've got cabbages as well. So there's lots to go, and these cold frames just help us keep some of the younger plants a little bit more protected until they are more established. Right, so you can see that this doesn't take long to paint these cardboard tubes. I have a couple of them here. Well, a couple, I say 3, because I've got to be more accurate with my words when I'm in the UK. A couple in South Africa could mean anything from 2 to about 6 or so. In the UK, a couple literally means 2. So I've actually got 3 of these that I'm going to prepare. I'll continue painting, and once they dry, I'll come back and show you what the next step is going to be. Lovely activity to do this on a winter's evening when it's getting colder. See you in a bit. Well, the next step is to decide which pictures I'm going to be using to cover the painted area that I've got on my cardboard tubes. So I've chosen 3 different Christmas napkins. This little one, I like the individual pictures, so I'll be using those as individuals. This is one of those little cocktail napkins, and when I was playing around, I discovered to my joy that they fit perfectly around there, and I think that that will be rather a nice decoration for that one. And then the third one, I'm just going to use some of this lovely holly and ivy, which is an overall design. So yeah, they really are quite different. They're all Christmassy, so I'm happy to work with them. I'm going to now just separate my layers so that I don't have anything other than the design layer. And if you are battling to separate your layers, if you take the back of your nail, just rub down one of the corner where it's all got this little embossed texture that we know about in napkins. You can normally get them apart, otherwise a piece of blue tack on this side and some at the back, and you can normally separate these thin layers. So this one I'm not actually going to cut at all, because the pieces that hang over the edge here I'm going to just use to tuck into the inside of this tube. So that's the first one. Your little layers that are left over like this, if you do junk journaling and card making, things like that, these, if you stick them down onto a page of some sort, it could even just be an old book page, give you quite a nice background to work with. So hang on to those. The next one, I'm going to just select an image to stick on. I actually quite fancied this quirky little bird. I think I'm just going to use that one. So I'm just going to cut out this little square here, and I will leave the rest of my cardboard tube just painted. You want to just trim that off, and then again you want to just separate those layers here. This one again has got 3, and again you've got that soft little print there. So that one I'm going to do on that sort of vintagey color, which was the white and the gold mixed together. And then for this third one, I'm just going to use a strip of this color. I'm just roughly rolling this around to see how much I need. Just be slightly generous when you are working with this, so that you actually give yourself more than is needed. And because I don't want any hard edges when I'm actually gluing this down, I'm just going to tear it so that the edges blend together, making sure that again I've got more than I need. So this will be pretty much almost to the end of this 1/4. That will give me a little overhang on each side, and then I'm just going to tear through here. Right, so I've got these lovely soft fluffy edges. I need to just pull away this extra layer of napkin like that, so I only have the designs. And again, look at that, that would make a lovely background for something. So get all your paper bits and pieces out the way, because anything that's lying on your table can easily get stuck to the surfaces. So I'm going to start off with the simplest one to do. I'm going to take this little creamy colored background. I'm just wondering, maybe just thinking, where's that one that had the leaves on? I'm just thinking about a background, just to show you. I'm thinking possibly I might stick that down, which is a soft background, and put that on top. So let's do that together, and then we'll see how we go. So I'm wanting to be able to dip my brush into my mixed medium. Oh my goodness, this one is stuck. Be back in a second. So the actual napkin itself is really soft and delicate. So I'm going to take the hard edge, and I'm going to start with that first, line up so that I've got my cardboard tube in the middle, and just gently roll this around till I get to where the two edges meet. I'm then going to securely hold that with my finger, and I'm just going to brush through the napkin. I'm going to start in the center. Once that's secure, I'm going to release the other ends that I was holding, and if I get the odd little wrinkle, it's not serious, but you can see how lovely this will be as a background. So just working on one side and then working on the opposite side, brush all the way to the edges. The paper will start to slowly stretch as you put moisture on it, but don't worry about that. And because these napkins are so thin, each ply, the matte medium will just go right the way through. So I'm going to stick down the cut edge first, and then I'm going to overlap with that soft torn edge. Right, you need to be fairly generous when you're applying matte medium. You could use Mod Podge, that's also fine. And the nice thing is that this will dry fairly quickly. Alright, so I've got that nicely secured on that side, looking pretty good. Make sure you smooth out any of the matte medium, and then just working this last section so that it overlaps with the berries. I like the berries there. Maybe I'll just tear a little bit of this off, we'll see. Maybe not. Brush this down and you'll see how beautifully the edges just blend together. Right, so you have two options here. You can either leave these little edges and just tuck them in with a little bit of matte medium, or you can do what I'm doing, is just to gently pull them off and glue down any little fluffy bits which you have around the cut edge of the cardboard tube. This technique will only work if you have glued down your edges really well. So where you haven't actually got them secure on the edges, the tearing away process becomes a little bit more tricky. Alright, those I will dispose of. Just neaten up these edges. And then you can decide where you would like to put your motive. I've got this nice big area here where I've got these leaves, so I think I'm just going to pop this down here in the middle. And again, working with the Mod Podge over the top, I'm just going to secure this down. Remember, you have got some underneath already. Okay, so that's the first one. And I'm going to put it on some of this baking parchment just so it doesn't stick to everything. Now I have my second design. I'm going to work on this background here, and I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to center my cardboard tube so that I've got equidistant on the edges, like that. Well, my decoupaged cardboard tubes have all dried, and I have actually gone ahead and given them a coat of just some clear gloss varnish just to seal it, and also because Christmas is often glitzy, so I thought I'd really just like to maybe just jazz it up a little bit. I do feel with some of them, like this one, that there's quite a lot of plain background, so I have selected a piece of just text stamp, and I'm just going to use some vintage photo distress ink just to stamp onto this, just to randomly give it a little bit more interest. I don't mind if this is not all even. We'll just see what actually happens. Oh, it's not showing up on there. Okay, plan B, let's have a look. let's try some of the stays on the jet black ink, see if that works a bit better. Right, so let's just, yeah, that's it. Just want to have little bits of text here and there, not too precious about it, not wanting whole images, just to break up the surface and give it another dimension. So I think I'll do one that I'll roll from here across, moving the cardboard tube, maybe one this side which will be slightly softer, put some more ink on, and I'm really not worrying if the ink isn't properly inked up. And a little bit along here. There we go. So it's just broken up that tissue look, which is really nice. I think I might also just slightly overlap this onto the actual napkin, just to blend it in. I'm very happy with that. I'm going to do the same with this one, where I've actually got quite a lot of white, just simply, again, just to add another dimension, quite like a collaged tissue paper. And I can just roll my design on, so that gives us a nice little bit of interest. The next thing that I'm going to do is to set that aside, and to fold these into your little gift boxes. It's really pretty easy. So you're just going to press down with your finger until it bends naturally, turn it over and press down from the other side, and you'll see that you actually have a nice little pouch. And this is why I said it's quite nice just to have a little bit of tissue or painted inside edge, because when somebody is actually working and opening up your little box, you'll find that that is there. So the last thing that I'm going to do on this one is just to ink the edges a little bit, because I didn't want to do this and then have to fold it because I'd smudge it. But I'm just going to ink the edges nicely just to make it slightly more vintagey, because this particular design definitely has a very vintage feel. And then we'll just close this up again, fold it down both ways, and then you can always put a piece of ribbon across the top with a little tag, but it's quite nice for one or two little chockies in there. So we're going to do the same with this. When you've got a design that's in the middle, you need to make sure that you've got that facing up so that you get your folds in the correct place. So we're going to just fold that over like that, fold this down, and I mean, who could come across a more easy way of actually wrapping a gift? And really nice to get the kids involved for the holidays, to help them just focus and give you some help at much needed time when you perhaps are needing just to keep them busy. Right, so we fold that in nicely. It just locks together so nicely too, which is something that is really joyful. Right, so for this particular one, because I've got a little bit of the type on here and I've used the stays on ink, I'm just going to run that around the edge just to tidy up some of these little edges here. You can see that they don't look that great, but when you've just got a little bit of color on them, it will make them less noticeable. I'm going to do the same thing over here, just ink these edges very gently. I'm going to refold them again like that. I like that. That's really nice. Could use that way, or you could use it this way. It's entirely up to you. So I'm now going to find some pretty ribbon, and I'll leave you an image at the end with what it looks like when it's completed.